When the Goodwin family learned that their daughter Carson had Down syndrome, they dedicated themselves to gathering information and creating opportunities for Carson to grow and learn like any other child. They discovered that support and resources available to parents of children with Down syndrome were very limited, and they created the National Down Syndrome Society in response. The mission of NDSS is to be the national advocate for the value, acceptance, and inclusion of people with Down syndrome. Our objective has and always will be to see all people with Down syndrome have the opportunity to enhance their quality of life, realize their life aspirations, and become valued members of welcoming communities. Thus, NDSS strives to improve health and quality of life for people with Down syndrome, increase their educational and employment opportunities, and ensure they have financial freedom and security by advocating at the federal, state, and local levels of government. Our programs work together to accomplish our mission of the value, acceptance, and inclusion of people with Down syndrome. The NDSS My Great Story campaign is our largest public awareness initiative celebrating people with Down syndrome using all forms of media to reach public audiences across the country. The goal of the campaign is to ignite a new way of thinking about people with Down syndrome by sharing stories written by and about them. The collection houses over 600 stories written by anyone who has a positive story to share about someone with Down syndrome. These stories are inspiring to new families and also change outdated stereotypes about people with Down syndrome. NDSS established the DS Ambassador Program to recruit volunteer advocates of all abilities to take part in the democratic process and serve as liaisons between NDSS and their congressional delegations. This program builds long-lasting relationships with U.S. senators and U.S. representatives to continually raise awareness, educate, and advocate for public policy solutions that benefit the Down syndrome community at the federal level. At the state level, the NDSS Government Affairs Committee program helps Down syndrome support organizations, parents, and self-advocates join forces with NDSS to achieve positive systems change for individuals with Down syndrome at the state and local levels of government. Through our helpline and email service, NDSS responds to over 8,000 requests for information each year. Our translation service can be accessed in over 150 languages. The NDSS My Great Story public awareness campaign uses all forms of media to reach an audience of over 275 million people nationwide. The National Buddy Walk program has over 250 walks and raises close to $12 million each year. The goal of our DS Ambassador program is to cover every congressional district, 435 districts in the U.S. We are constantly working toward changing and shaping policy that positively impacts people with Down syndrome. NDSS is the largest nonprofit organization dedicated to advocating for all people with Down syndrome and their families in the U.S. Our programs are backed by a board of directors and committees, including the Scientific and Clinical Advisory Board, the National Government Affairs Committee, and the Education Advisory Committee. Our reach into the Down syndrome community is like no other. We have a network of over 375 local affiliates, over 200 DS ambassadors, 18 statewide Down syndrome government affairs committees, and over 250 buddy walks across the U.S. and abroad. NDSS is leading the efforts to advocate for national landmark legislation, the Achieving a Better Life Experience, or the ABLE Act. Our National Buddy Walk program has over 250 walks and raises close to $12 million each year, which supports Down syndrome organizations across the country and supports NDSS advocacy efforts. The NDSS My Great Story public awareness campaign uses all forms of media to reach an audience of over 275 million people nationwide. The biotech sector has developed non-invasive prenatal tests that can identify a mother's chance of having a baby with Down syndrome at 10 weeks gestation. Many people are concerned that these tests will have an impact on the Down syndrome population and that people will choose not to have babies who have Down syndrome. NDSS collaborates with medical associations to promote accurate, up-to-date materials on Down syndrome and works with our local organizations to disseminate information to new and expectant families so they can understand what it truly means to have Down syndrome in today's world. With additional resources for public awareness, NDSS could create and distribute awareness campaigns customized to all levels of education, from birth through high school, post-secondary opportunities, as well as job training. With additional resources, we could go deeper into each area of our legislative agenda and offer both advocacy and services to individuals with Down syndrome nationwide. For example, NDSS could partner with employers to promote inclusive employment programs. Housing is a large concern to our families as individuals with Down syndrome are living more independently with supports, as well as living longer and more productive lives. The average life expectancy is now in the 60s, and therefore there are housing and healthcare needs for the new aging population. There's a large need for shared housing arrangements with support and transportation services in communities across the country.